In today's video, I want to talk with you about why self-care is not just all about bubble baths and scented candles. Self-care can sometimes feel a little bit more uncomfortable than that, and we don't really talk about that. You may feel really guilty taking time for yourself, but why self-care is so important and how you can get started, those are all things that I want to discuss with you in today's video. So let's get started. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. And I'm really excited that you are watching this video today because self-care is super important. I'm sure that you have heard about it. Everyone is talking about it nowadays. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, everybody is talking about how they are practicing self-care. But I think that we have maybe a skewed image when it comes to self-care because we think that self-care is all about feeling good. It's about taking spa days, getting massages, sitting in a bubble bath with scented candles, and so on and so on. But self-care, I think, is a lot more than that. So in today's video, I want to talk about all of these different things. But before we really jump into today's video and into all of the whys and hows, I want to talk with you about the definition of self-care. What does self-care actually mean? So let's take a look. Self-care is the individual practice of health management without the aid of a medical professional. In healthcare, self-care is any human regulatory function which is under individual control, deliberate and self-initiated for the purpose of maintaining one's health and well-being. That is why we are practicing self-care. And I must say, I have these conversations all the time with my clients because I really believe that self-care and our own time is the first thing that we cut out of our calendars when we feel like we have not enough time in the day. I hear this all the time. I just talked to a client last week, mother of two, husband, and she told me about how she's juggling work and childcare and spending time with her husband, her household, and there was just absolutely no time for self-care. So we sat down and we had a really open, honest conversation about how she can create more space for self-care. Because let's be honest, you are the only person that can actually manage your time. Nobody will really take your hand and tell you, you should really do this because then you will feel better. Because here's the thing, we are exploiting our energy resources throughout the day, throughout weeks and months, and we are not filling our own cup. And then all of these other things are starting to happen. We feel exhausted, so we get into fights with our partners. We are maybe not the parents that we want to be. We may not be the colleagues or co-workers or the managers or the leaders that we want to be because we just don't have the energy. How are you supposed to be fully present and fully balanced if you don't fill your energy cup first? So this is the most important thing that I want you to take away from today's video. Self-care is absolutely important, vital, and there's just no way to live your life and be a peak performer, to be productive and focused at all times when you are not taking care of yourself, okay? You need to start taking care of yourself to be fully present and successful in all these other areas of your life. So that is self-care, taking care of yourself, self-initiated, what is under your control. And you might think now, yes, it's under my control, but I don't have time, right? Let's talk about time management for a second. I have so many videos on my YouTube channel about time management because I truly believe this is the first thing that you need to take care of. So check out this video here. Also, there's a 5-day free time management course on my website. So if you really feel like you need to start creating space for yourself, then start there. The biggest thing that you can do is to track your time at the beginning. Track it for a day, track it for 3 days, track it for 5 days, track it for a week, and really be clear on where your time is currently going in order to create spaces for yourself. You need those spaces in order to start practicing self-care. And sometimes we think self-care needs to be 3 hours or 5 hours or half a day or a full day, and that's not really what it is about either. it is really important that you realize that self-care can also be just 15 minutes or 30 minutes. But I think it is all about preparing mentally and also maybe physically from a calendar perspective in order to make sure that you are really having time to practice some self-care for yourself. So I think hopefully this was clear enough on why self-care is so important, okay? Now let's talk about what self-care is. What does it entail, right? And this is the next thing. I think this is the next myth where people think that self-care is about bubble baths and scented candles, and that's all great, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that in order to practice self-care, but I think we need to talk about a couple of other things, okay? So first of all, you can practice self-care on a mental and physical level. Physical, super clear, right? You can go for walks, you can go to the gym, you can exercise, all different kinds of exercises that you enjoy doing, yoga, stretching, all these different things. Mentally, you can do meditation, for example. Obviously, you can journal, you can talk to a friend, to a therapist, to a coach, everything that supports your mental well-being. If you want to learn more about specifically how you can improve your mental well-being, make sure to check out this video. So there are a couple of very obvious practices when it comes to self-care on a mental and physical level, right? But there are also things that we don't really talk so often about, but they also are self-care practices. And that's really what I want to talk with you about for a second here. Self-care is about time management, setting boundaries, learning to say no. Those are things that we oftentimes don't really connect with self-care, right? We don't really think about it, oh yeah, self-care, I need to say no, right? But only if you learn how to say no, can you start creating space and time for yourself. Because if you always just say yes to other people, then you will not have any more time for yourself, okay? So self-care can sometimes be very uncomfortable, right? Because we haven't really learned how to say no, and that makes us feel really uncomfortable, or it makes us feel super guilty or self-conscious. All of these different feelings might come up, right? And maybe that's why also we are not practicing as much self-care as we should in the first place. It is absolutely really important that you're starting to set boundaries and that you're starting to say no and that you're managing your time. Those are all topics, again, that I'm speaking about in all different kinds of videos on my YouTube channel. Make sure to check out this one and that one for that as well. Because that's a topic in itself, right? But you know, the most important thing that I want you to take away from this is that self-care can feel uncomfortable. Yes, we sometimes feel guilty when we are practicing self-care because we think we should do something else, because we think we should spend time with someone else. We should take care of this project, right? But it's really not helpful in the long run. It will eventually lead to burnout. Again, I'm talking with people about this all the time. And really the biggest problem is that they're not taking enough time for themselves. And if you're watching this video right now and you feel like I just don't have enough time, then that's okay, because I've been there, many of my clients have been there, but you can create time. There's always time, and you just need to prioritize your time. This is really the most important thing. You need to prioritize yourself, okay? So now that we've talked about what self-care is, why it is so important, and that there might be things that we don't think immediately about, but that are also part of self-care, now let's talk about how you can get started, okay? I have a specific YouTube video on my channel that is about how to start a routine, right? Because I think when we talk about self-care, it is really important that we are talking about routines. If you want to have that specific video, check it out here. But let's talk about it in general terms, okay? How can you get started on a self-care practice? I think it's super important that you are pushing yourself to do this. This is the first thing, right? People say, I'm guilty. People say, I don't have time. People say, I feel uncomfortable, but all of these feelings won't really go away and then you get started. You need to sometimes take that first step. Sometimes you need to get over that hump. Even if you don't feel motivated, even if you don't feel inspired, you need to just do it. I oftentimes don't feel things, right? Sometimes I feel guilty about taking a nap in the afternoon, but it is the thing that I really, really need in order to feel better. And when I wake up from my afternoon nap and then I go sit back at my desk, then I feel so much better. I feel so much more productive. I feel sharp. I get a lot more things done in the day than if I would just kind of drag my feet because I'm feeling actually tired and overwhelmed. So you need to learn this, and you will only learn it by making experiences and by creating these habits, okay? So that is really, really important, and that is really the most important thing that I would tell you to do in order to start a self-care practice. You need to force yourself a little bit. You need to be okay to be uncomfortable, and you need to plan. Of course, planning is always a super big part in this as well. So make sure that you are setting an intention. What would you like to do, right? You can write down, for example, okay, this week I want to do these 3 things for myself. And when you are not really clear on what you should be doing, what kind of self-care you should be doing, then I always say, think about the things that you love to do. Really think about the things that fill your heart with joy and with passion. I talked about this with my client last week. She's super passionate about art. She loves art, and she hasn't practiced it in 13 years because she said she never had time. Really, really long time to not do something that you actually really enjoy doing. No matter what it is that you love to do, spend some time on it, because that will really fill your energy cups, okay? So that's all I wanted to share with you today, I think. Let me think. Yes, I think that's all I wanted to share with you today. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Again, there are so many different videos on my YouTube channel that you can check out in order to get help with that. You are not alone. You're not the only person that is struggling with self-care. And that is the reason why I am creating all of this content. So make sure to check it out. I would love if you would give me a thumbs up for this video. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you do in order to practice self-care. And I really, really hope to see you in the next video.